I wrote up what you just achieved in Germany.
Yep.
Simple headlines said Totogi automates BSS code writing. And your claim is that you were going to build 500,000 lines of BSS code in one day.
So this is what you've just done?
This is what they've just done, yeah.
We really started with the premise of no one believes us.
Yep.
The CSPs are skeptical, and I think there is a lot of AI slop out there.
Yeah, it's attached to everything right now,
How
isn't it?
do you prove it works? And we're like, we're going to bring a coder and like code in front of you.
Yeah.
This is Telco in 20, a podcast that helps telco execs achieve a competitive advantage with AI in the public cloud. It is hosted by Daniel Rios, also known as DR. Today we're talking with the hosts of the telecoms.com podcast, Scott Bicheno and Iain Morris.
Hi guys, I'm DR. At the end of October, Totogi did something unprecedented at TelecomTV's AI native telco forum in Germany. We created 6 BSS modules from scratch with AI, using Totogi's BSS Magic and one forward deployed engineer. I knew there were going to be a lot of questions about it, so I made a pit stop in London to talk to the telecoms.com podcast firing squad of Scott Bicheno and Iain Morris. Why? Because a big part of being an evangelist is debating with the non-believers. Scott and Iain are smart, funny, and ready to call out anything they smell as BS. Last month, when AWS had that massive outage in US East 1, Scott was practically salivating at the opportunity to grill me about it. When Totogi generated more than 500,000 lines of working code live at the TelecomTV event, Iain wanted to know how the ontology really works. So I picked up a case of their favorite beer, nothing like a good bribe to butter them up, and joined them in their studio. I am bringing our conversation to you in this special episode of Telco in 20, which is also one of our rare double drops. The telecoms.com team and I are both sharing it on our podcast channels. We talk about Totogi's feat, if AI is really all that evil, ooh, and of course, touch on the resilience of the public cloud. So, grab a brewski, settle in, and let's take 100.
Hello and welcome to your telecoms.com podcast of the week. And I'm delighted to say we've got a guest again, a returning guest, Daniel Rios. I nearly said Royston.
I know. It'd be easy because it's an English name.
At least it's DR all the way.
It still is.
So, often known as, you often go as DR, don't you?
Always.
Yeah. Always. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'll just call you DR then. Like JR at Dallas.
Yeah, like that. Yeah.
Welcome back, Danielle, or DR.
Yeah.
No, I've got to call you Danielle.
We're probably the only two people who call you Danielle.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might be.
Yeah.
But my one question is, if I come on 5 times, is there like a 5-timers jacket, like on SNL?
Oh, we should do that. That's a
Afraid
good
not.
idea.
No, we don't have any merch.
We need
No
merch.
swag.
We need merch for
It's
people
like
who've
more
been
like
on
a
lot.
trophy.
We should give everyone a metal T-shirt or something.
Totally.
People who don't know, this Yeti that we use every single episode, Danielle brought us.
It was after the pandemic.
22.
Oh, it was
21,
post-pandemic, was it? God, I thought it was pre. There we go.
Yeah.
No, she'd already done the taking over the Ericsson stand at Mobile
I had done
Congress
Club
by
City.
then.
Right, okay. Well, we were having to go at the public cloud, which we might do again today.
That's fine.
Given what happened earlier on this week.
Sure.
And then you lent into that. We called you a public cloud cheerleader, so you brought pom-poms
I
and
did.
stuff like that, which
And
is
a
a
number
cool
one,
thing.
a giant foam number 1.
Oh, yes, that's right. One of those pointy fingers.
Yeah.
And then we had you on as one of our guests on the Mobile World Conference,
Which
MWC
was a
one.
great idea.
You brought 2 cocktail waiters and a trolley, and they were mixing us
Oh, that's it. I remember-
old fashions live
Yeah.
while we were recording. I remember the first sip of it, because, of course, being us, we'd been out a fair bit prior to that.
Yeah.
First sip of that, I was like, ooh, and then
By
it
the
kicks in,
end.
and then suddenly, right, I'm ready to rock.
It's like medicine then.
It was
Yeah, yeah.
medicinal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hair of the
exactly.
dog, maybe a little bit.
So,
it was
That's
delicious.
good.
So I'm going to
Very
say, actually, you're hiding something under.
I am hiding. I always bring gifts. I sort of
Yeah.
feel like, I don't know, the hostess in me.
So I thought I'd
But
let you get that
I
sorted.
noticed you guys like this brew dog, but
Oh,
but
wow.
the Yeti
look at that.
koozie will replace the
Oh,
janky cake koozies.
Hi.
It's got your brand on it.
It has your brand.
yeah,
You know me.
branded.
So there you go.
That is very cool.
I
And
have
you
one.
even put.
I put a brew dog in there for you guys.
Excellent.
Here's one for Iain.
Thank you very much.
So
There
we'll,
you go.
We'll
Thank
swap
you.
out these brew dogs.
Yes.
And then I bought one for Pierre.
Oh, you didn't forget me. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I branded with me,
Thank you very much.
And you got your own one.
Telco DR.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, nice one. Your attention to detail is unsurpassed, Danielle.
It's,
Thank
well,
you
I
very
have
much.
a
No, we
really
got-
great support team that helped me do amazing
They do,
things.
and we should say we've got your right-hand person, Lindsay,
Yes, Lindsay.
in the
off
background. Hi,
camera.
Lindsay.
And the beer is cold.
And the beer is cold.
cold.
Good skills. And we should also give a shout out to Jen Hibbard from Liberty, who works with Elena. And she, unfortunately, we only got room for 1+1 in here.
Yeah.
So she's chilling or taking in the view or whatever
Well,
outside.
she's minding the beers, mate. No, we have extra beers here.
Oh my God.
She's got a whole suitcase of beers.
Lots
I know
of
Pierre
beer.
only has a couple of hours, but
There's a
Oh
green
my
one.
God.
yeah.
She's basically, for people listening and watching, she's bought a shitload of Brewdog.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 beers. For 4 of us, I am not
Yeah.
going to have 4 beers on this
That's gonna be a
podcast.
They'll
struggle.
be all right today then.
You want a couple?
Yeah, just grab a couple.
Here you go.
Nice one. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Danielle.
You're welcome.
And I love the branding. This is very cool.
Yeah.
So we'll crack on because we've got a time limit. It's great to have you here. You made a big effort. You've just been in Germany, haven't you?
I was just at the new AI native forum that
Yeah.
TelecomTV
with
put on.
Ray and Co.
Yeah.
It sounds like, judging by LinkedIn, it was sold out as well. So they've done
It
well. there.
was. They
Good for
had to
them.
rearrange their floor plan to make more room for more people, which was great.
We should buy them in.
We should, yeah.
We bought Ray before. We
Yeah.
can do it again. Why don't we buy Steve while we're at it? What can go wrong? Don't worry, Steve doesn't listen to this. But I'll get straight into it then, Daniel. I'll pass the ball to you. What were you in Germany at Ray's event for?
Yeah, so, they really wanted that event to focus on real use cases. How are operators really getting AI into their organizations? It is a struggle. I mean, it's not a telecoms problem. It's every large organization. I mean, there's kind of maybe 3 pieces. There's the technology itself. What tools do you pick? There's training your people because no one really knows this. And then I think there's a culture shift because there's a natural reaction to fight it or resist it or question what this means for me.
I bet you saw it a few months ago, I think it was. We spoke about it on one pod where it's just me and Iain, and we announced at the start that we were going to shit on AI. And there was a study out of MIT or somewhere that was talking about a very high proportion
95%.
of enterprise implementations weren't paying off. But it was nuanced. It wasn't saying it's because AI is rubbish.
Yeah.
It's because the implementation wasn't done right.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think you really need to think through the HR side, the human side of rolling it out. And I think there's a lot more than to just putting together an agent and throwing it out there. I think you need to really think through what's called context engineering. How do you give the AI the guardrails, the context of the work?
So that's like an escalation of prompt engineering. It's like
it's a little bit more than prompt,
Right.
I think is kind of where we're at, but where you give it enough of guardrails so that the answers are more likely to be correct. And what I mean by more likely, like high 90s.
Yeah.
And so that you can let it loose into your organization and feel like it's not going to ruin your business or...
Is even that high enough? Or are we getting into that like 4 nines or whatever they call
5
it?
nines.
5 nines.
Yeah.
That's a reliability thing for
I know,
carrier
but-
infrastructure, really.
But if you are going to quote Danielle, let it loose on your business, I mean, is even a 5% error rate too
that's
high?
downtime for a network. Whereas
Or
if you're,
just-
I know,
or just-
I know,
I know-
I'm not saying exactly the same, but I'm querying, I'm setting up a whole new query of whether or not we need to aim for a similar level in terms of, and this might be relevant when we bring up the AWS thing,
Yeah.
in terms of if it even goes wrong 5%
oh,
of
but
the
that's
time, isn't
different.
that bad?
That's not an AI thing. That's just
no, but it's
that's an
down. It's downtime, or it's things going
Or
wrong.
just
Yeah.
correctness,
But,
right? I think
yeah.
he's asking, how correct does it need to be?
Yeah,
I think,
I mean that's
again,
mistakes rather than because sometimes it doesn't need to be on. The AI is not doing anything.
That's true, and
You
the
see what I
mistakes
mean?
don't need to be catastrophic.
Yeah.
I get
well,
it.
I think it
But they could
depends
be.
on where it's deployed. Like, I think people will handle a mistake in a chatbot if you can pull an Iain or whatever it's called in, like on a bus and say, escalate me to a human.
Yeah.
Right. It's not that big. You can say at the bottom, disclaimer, this is AI and it may make mistakes. But I
Yeah.
think, again, in like a network, you might need...
Yeah, no, totally.
higher
Ian's right to correct me
correctness.
on that. I wasn't making a direct connection. It just made me think of
But-
these ways of measuring accuracy and perfection.
Just on that though, on the kind of they call it hallucinations, don't
Mm-hmm.
they? Which I think is a bit of a strange expression for it because it's just like mistakes to me.
Yeah.
But I noticed even the one that I encounter all the time because you can't really escape from it actually is Gemini on
Yeah.
Google because you're going to use Google as your search engine. And
Yeah,
then
right.
unfortunately these days there's sort of no way of deactivating their AI. And it comes up with these summaries at the top of anything you put in. And they're frequently really quite badly wrong.
Right.
Even on sort of quite simple queries sometimes. I remember putting something in just to sort of test it on countries with a population of fewer than 5 million people. And it was
Yeah.
coming out with things like South Korea, which is like, I don't know, 40 million or something.
right.
And I just kind of wonder
And
why.
did it have a hyperlink? Because it normally has a link to the source.
I can't remember.
Right.
It usually does. If you're searching on Google at the top and you're talking that top summary,
Yeah.
you can say like work more with AI and it will give you the source.
But it's still, even if the source was errant, it's still not very clever of
But
it.
but the other thing
cite
I've
it, is
noticed
it?
people saying about generative AI is it's good for, which I found really curious about AI because it's sort of contrary to what I'd expect, is that it's very good for getting it to write, say, a paragraph of text. I mean, it's not going to be Martin Amis, but it can generate something that's workable. But if you put sort of simple arithmetic into it, sometimes it makes mistakes. And goes wrong. Whereas I would have thought that AI would be, that's what it would be really good at, is the numbers stuff.
Right,
it's just
right.
machines and figuring.
There's all these different packages that you can use with the LLM you're working with. I'd say the two main models that everyone really uses is the Open AI one, which is known as ChatGPT. And then the other big one is Anthropic's Claude that a lot of people haven't used. Those are probably the two best. Elon Musk is working really hard with his Grok one, and it's coming up very strong. Surprisingly, he's done it. DeepSeek from China, famously trained and took like a lot less dollars to train it to become really good.
Yeah.
But I think the two main ones are OpenAI and Anthropic. Those are the two kind of neck and neck.
Are you because the DeepSeek story has been quite controversial, isn't it? It's like, did they actually really get access to chips they weren't supposed to? Is it as efficient as it's cracked up to be?
Yeah,
I'm not sure where
angle
that's
of
gone
the
since.
pod we did earlier on this week.
I don't know whatever happened. Supposedly they kind of went through Singapore or something, got their hands on some NVIDIA chips or whatever. But I think there's definitely model differences. Like with Gemini, you noticed I didn't put it in the top 3. I think it is way off.
That's interesting.
I think with math, there's components you can call to make the math more reliable, right? Just like there's different tools you would use for coding. There's different tools like for picture generation.
Claude's considered better for coding, isn't it?
Yeah, it
The
still
Anthropic
is.
one.
Right.
ChatGPT is really trying to challenge them on that. Their latest drop that happened at the end of September, they were like, we're as good as and maybe even better. But then when engineers got their hands on it, they're like, Claude's still better. But the more you use it, the more you realize how you can make it be more right.
Yeah.
Right? And some of that is you as a prompter becoming skilled. And it's just kind of like how you had to become a good searcher on Google, right? If you didn't know how to like use keywords and do it right, you can get kind of crappy results and you're hunting for what you're looking for. But if you get really good at Google, then usually in the first page, you're going to get your answer. And the same thing is with prompting. And then the second thing is really learning about giving it the context it needs so that it's more likely to produce the right answer.
So the prompting, just to be clear, because a lot of people
Don't know.
and they do it in a casual way, like tell me this or that. And I know Scott's son probably knows more about this stuff because I think he's been doing some of that.
studying it. But prompt engineering is a big thing.
Natural language, but just being very specific about what you want, essentially, and putting in the right kind of expressions and being very, very clear about what you're looking for.
Right. You kind of want to bound it a little bit. I want my tone to be this. My audience is this. The length is this. The topic is this. Don't talk about that. Because if you just say, write a paragraph on the cloud,
it's got too much to choose from.
It doesn't know if you're private, public, AWS, Google.
Does it ever come back and go, can you be a bit more fucking specific?
It does. It does. Like sometimes by accident I hit enter. I'm like, let's write a blog. And I hit enter.
Right, and
it's like, about what?
Help me to help you.
Right. And or I'll say I'll be too high level and it'll say, okay, if you give me some more instructions, I can write a really great blog. But both of those products have the concept of like a project where it's like, okay, like I have a blog project and I have custom instructions that's like, this is always for a telco executive. Make it about, 1,200 words long. Your tone should be this. Always start with a controversial take that, whatever, and then cite examples. Please research CSP examples.
Yeah.
Don't use a bank, right?
Yep.
Use Vodafone or whatever.
I suppose I don't use AI very much at all. I know that's quite heretical of me in this day and age. But I would imagine what would be useful, especially to someone who hasn't bothered to learn prompt best practice, as you seem to have, is to have a drilling down process. Like, Scott, you asked for this. I can give you a go there, but you might want to... suggest parameters, suggest prompts maybe.
Right.
But then I suppose that's a bit circular, isn't it? You don't want the AI suggesting prompts to you. They should be yours.
No, it can't.
So it can get a bit circular.
It's called meta prompting.
There we go.
So let's say you work with it and you finally get to something you're like, oh, that was actually what I was looking for. That's the paragraph that I wanted.
Yeah.
What I'll do is I'll say, write the prompt that would have produced this much sooner in our dialogue. Boom. and then you save
Right,
it.
I see. Oh,
Then
and then you know
save
for
it.
next time.
Yeah, put it in a doc and be
There's
like,
trial and error.
No, that's a
yeah.
good idea.
yeah.
No, but that's right. Reverse engineering it to say, what could I have
I'm a
said in much...
dumbass, but write the prompt.
What
and
could
then-
I have said in
Yeah.
much fewer words to
You
get
can
this
reverse
desired
engineer,
outcome?
but it's trial and error to some extent,
Yeah.
and then you get it right, and then
Right.
you save that, and then I guess you can refine that in future to make
It'll be
it
a whole.
more
It'll be a whole
specific.
skill set for everyone to learn.
Absolutely right. You
Well,
can make him part of the
Perhaps
instruction.
not everyone, except Luddites,
Well, everyone I know that's
grumpy
been
middle-aged Luddites.
everyone that I
Oh,
know
me
that's-
too, mate. Me too.
everyone I know that's been anti-AI, and then they start to kind of
Yeah.
dabble.
Start to see the light.
They don't go back.
That's why I don't
They
use
love
it.
it.
Yeah, I
doesn't-
don't want to fall in love with it. I don't want to be like that guy in the film. You know,
He doesn't want it to become his precious. My precious
Like your
ChatGPT.
girlfriend?
Yeah,
You're
well,
like,
no, there's a
Write a salacious article about the public cloud. There was
There's a-
another outage. I'm so excited.
What's
Do it in
called?
the style of
Pierce scene.
Her.
right? Like
that's
it's
it.
her. Yeah. No. Well, one time I wrote a prompt for you in one of my newsletters, which is like I built a prompt for Iain Morris, where it starts with like some sort of historical reference to some calamity to start my
Oh, is
article.
this his opening paragraph?
Right? It's
Yeah,
his
yeah,
opening
yeah.
paragraph because he has a
Oh,
very
he's got-
distinct
no, I
sound.
often tease him about it on the
Right,
pod.
and I was
So,
like,
yeah.
write an article in the style of Iain Morris on this topic, and it starts out with a little. And
Yeah,
I'm
I think
like,
Jeff Hollingworth did the same at
Yeah.
some point.
Yeah, he put it out on
Rakuten.
LinkedIn, didn't he?
yeah, and
Can
I put
I-
it in my newsletter.
Can I say a quick minor tangent? You were talking about maths, or math if you're American. They only got one math over
Yes.
there.
Telecom and telecoms, isn't it?
They got yes.
Yeah.
And there was a thing. How long ago was this? What's the date on this story? Why don't you put a date on your story? Where OpenAI claimed, some people from OpenAI claimed that OpenAI had solved these maths things that had been unsolved, like these real goodwill
Proofs.
hunting,
Yeah.
sort of
That
things.
only Matt Damon can do normally.
Exactly. I think they were called Erdos problems. I don't know how you pronounce the
Yeah.
accent above the O.
Yeah.
Right.
And it turned out what it had done, it was very embarrassing for OpenAI because it turned out what it had done, it hadn't solved anything, it hadn't done any maths.
Right.
It had just done a really good search engine job of going around the internet and finding some other
But you're-
research, some other people who'd already
Solved.
suggested
But
problems
that's the
to
short,
this
yeah,
shit.
because that's the shortcoming, I suppose, of AI at the moment. I'm not saying it will always be that way, and actually maybe we don't want it to be as good as that to come up with new solutions to things, because that's innovation, isn't
On its
it?
own, yeah.
It's not going over what's already
Yeah.
on the internet.
Yeah, I mean,
and
we
putting
haven't
it
hit,
into,
you know, what is it? Artificial general intelligence, where it's actually
That's where we really start
and maybe
freaking
never
out.
will, but yeah.
probably. But
You
you
think
still
we-
need humans.
You think we're
to
paranoid
guide it.
now?
I know. You guys especially.
Oh, I met Mavenir this week, and
Yeah.
I can say this because it was on the record. The guy who's like their AI guy,
Yeah.
and I was asking him what level. We might talk about this in a bit, but the levels that the TM forums come up with for measuring how automated your network is, and
Yeah.
0 basically means people are running around and pushing buttons. Still.
Right, manual.
5 is like there's like a CEO having a
Robot,
coffee
yeah.
and. Everything else just runs. And I said to him, what is level 5 automation? And I didn't expect this answer, but he went, it's basically like the Terminator.
Right. And you were like,
Skynet.
see, that's what I keep telling you. Why don't people listen to me?
Wait, so one more thing about
yeah,
AI
yeah.
that's going to freak Ian out. I
Okay.
was at a friend's house last weekend, and he works for Google, and he has Gemini reads his email
Right.
and then basically answer, and he checks it before he sends it, but the AI kind of like reads
Does the
everything and
answer.
goes, this is where you should answer. And then he,
And he goes, yeah, go on
tweaks
then.
it, and then, yeah.
Right.
Perfect.
And he's trained Gemini to be perfectly fitted for himself, but...
Well,
or
that's
herself, sorry.
I mean, that's actually a good way to bring it back
What
to.
does he do with all that extra time that he's got now?
That's a good
More
point.
work.
He's just more productive.
Yeah,
more
more
productive.
work.
He gets pissed.
You can do so much. It's amazing.
We should come up. The three of us will come up with a new AI product called the Pub Bot,
Yeah.
where you can go down the pub, but your boss, it'll look like you're working.
Oh, that's great.
I've
Yeah,
got
yeah.
a good way of getting it into telecoms.
Well, actually,
There's,
oh
go
yeah,
on.
good. No, you
no,
go.
I
ahead,
was
you
just
go
going to
ahead.
say, like, because we're talking about it in a kind of general sense at the moment.
Yeah.
And generative AI, I mean, AI's been around a long time, but the generative AI is what, 2022, I guess, is when.
Like November of 22.
Yeah. So, like, from your observations and your meetings with people and what you're doing commercially, what difference has it made to telco so far? What are they actually doing with generative AI
Yeah.
that they weren't doing with? I mean, this thing you were at in Germany, for instance. Was a lot of that about how they're using generative AI in their kind of.
Why don't you give her a
networks
softball, mate?
Or
I'm only joking. I'm just
Well,
winding you
that's
up.
not a-
Well, I think, this is a good question because I think people have been using predictive AI, like machine learning, for a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
We're not talking about that right now. that's sort of like old AI or done and dusted, or everyone gets that. Everyone is talking about
but still used and still useful.
Totally useful. Great.
But it's a bit so last decade in terms
Well, it's
of
just,
what
it's not the
everyone's
cool
talking about.
hotness. Generative AI is brand new, like you said, a couple years old. And I think when you go and talk to telcos, they don't know how to apply it. They don't have people inside using it. They're still doing things kind of the old way with like pilots and RFPs, and that's just not going to work.
Yeah.
And what I talked about on my panel is you really got to get this from 0 to 1. Like you don't have any real kind of app production, widespread use cases, and you need to get from 0 to 1. And once you get to 1, people are like, it really is an eye-opener and an idea generator, and people are like, oh, we can use it for this and that, whatever, and then off it goes. But there's a lot of resistance from going from 0 to 1. Right.
Well,
and then
you're in good
everyone's
company
talking
for that.
about network applications, and I'm like, you're never going to let your network do this because of all the fear that hallucinations or it's not correct, and are we really going to let it go wild? So I advocate start with somewhere safer.
Yeah.
Right? Less risky. And the easy place to start is customer support, right?
Yep.
It's structured data with a ton of human-generated correct answers because they're solved tickets. Just go build a RAG database on your solved tickets.
I tell you, I got a little tangent for that. My wife bought a bunch of stuff from Zara,
Yeah.
and they sent completely the wrong stuff, just random stuff. And she's having a fucking nightmare dealing with their customer support.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons is, and this isn't a knock on automation or AI in general, this is a knock on Zara's specific implementation. If anything, this supports your point.
Yeah.
They've implemented it so badly that she's just getting absolutely nowhere. She's being put in this bureaucratic loop where one thing sends her to another thing, which sends her back to the first thing. There's no escalation to a human being at any stage. And, you know, this is Zara, a world-class brand, and they're screwing it up, such that I'm quite happy to slag them off on this pod and
Maybe they'll
encourage
help
my
your
wife to not shop with them again.
The return code is RMA.
But I mean, but that's just an anecdotal illustration of pretty much what you're saying about, you know, especially if you're going to deal with people like me, where I'm kind of on a skeptical hair trigger with this stuff. You better do it right. Don't rush it in. It's not a race, despite what the politicians would have us believe.
Yeah.
Just do it properly.
I think, you scaffold it up over time, for sure.
How is generative AI helpful in that kind of area, that sort of customer area that you're talking about? Like you feed in a lot of the information that you're getting. You're sort of doing a small language model, maybe, I guess.
Well, no, you use the big guys, right?
Use the big guys, you just tweak it.
Yeah, you just do model tuning. You do this thing where it's called retrieval augmented generation, where it's like using a database of knowledge to search and learn. And so like in telco, where 60% of customer support tickets are a question about the bill. Why is it this much? Why was I charged this fee? Right? And so it's usually a task of looking at, okay, what was the bill? Looking at your customer record of what changed. And then you probably have this question answered 10,000 times in your old tickets. Put that together, right? So start the way that we've implemented it at Totogi with our customer support, and also at Skyvera, where we get a lot more volume of tickets, is we start with the easy use cases. How do I change my password? Simple. And then we keep giving it more and more and more, harder. So it's like taking on a bigger and bigger percentage of tickets. But we start with, what's the big, easy ticket that you really don't need a human to answer? It's like, you're just like, hit the forgot password. I'll send you another. There's some stuff like that. But then you go, the hard stuff, still humans. And we just kind of eat into the pile of work with the goal of 100% of tickets are answered by AI. But, I mean, we started in March of 23. And after about maybe 15 months, we were at maybe 70% with the goal of 100.
This is like internal. This isn't a customer-facing thing.
It's customer-facing.
It's customer-facing.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
it is.
But we started with the easy stuff to not ruin our brand or whatever. Right? We had a button of like, we told them this is AI, it's training, it may make mistakes. Right? We kind of set that expectation. We had a button of like, I want to talk to a human. Anyone could push it at any time and escape to the human. But after a while, I mean, it answers tickets overnight, on weekends, on holidays, and the staffing of like having 24/7 support is hard, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think you should say what Totogi is a bit, and also you mentioned Skyvera there as well, and people might not.
people that
might
don't
not
know all about me.
Before we do that,
Yeah.
I've got your enduring job title at Totogi is acting CEO.
It is. Everyone wants to change it.
You've been acting for a long time.
I've been acting for
Why
like,
don't you just drop the acting?
I don't know. I'm kind of just, I don't know.
So I'm gonna guess
At least she's not rotating.
I mean, you created the company, yeah?
I did.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that you put acting because you thought, I'm the creator. Sooner or later, I'll get a day-to-day CEO, and I'll just be the.
That was the original idea. Was
the
I'll get it up and
behind-the-scenes
going.
boss.
It'll be like an overnight success, and then I'll get someone, and then you won't have to explain like I'm not stepping down. It's not big news. I'm just acting, and we hired someone, whatever. But you're right. It has been going on.
So maybe we can get a scoop for this pod. that you're
Yeah.
dropping the acting.
Yeah. Well, maybe.
You can announce
maybe.
it.
I can't tell you how many times when we're doing something big, they're like, "Are you still acting?" I'm
Yeah,
like,
well,
my
quite-
own team.
this isn't the
like,
first
yes,
time.
I'm still acting. I'm not going to change it. Like one time I forgot to write acting, and I wrote CO, and the team was like, "Are you dropping the acting?" I'm like, "No,
I've got-
thanks for reminding
The
me."
acting
Add it
CEO,
back.
I've got a picture of someone sort of stepping on and doing some kind of Shakespearean dialogue with a skull in their hand. I, therefore, am the
I mean,
CEO.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
So,
dumb, but
Totogi's quite young, and how
in
did
telecom
how did that all
years,
start off, and
yeah.
why, what is it, and why are you
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
that?
So I started out with the idea to change, rewrite the software of the telco industry. And I'm in telco terms, I'm a baby. I've been around since 2017 when I became CEO of Redney, which I renamed Optiva. And
And they've just been bought by Quantel,
yes,
I noticed.
yes, that's saved really. I mean,
I think so. I think they had some challenges.
like $113 million in debt and about $40 million of revenue and about $8 million in the bank and
So-
unprofitable.
Sounds like the British government. Yeah.
So when I came into what is now known as Optiva, I guess someone named it Quaptiva or something.
Right.
Or
Well, Quantel's a strange name because it's got a V.
Quantel?
Well, it's spelt with
It's
a V, though.
I always say Qvantel, but I
Right,
think
yeah, that's
James.
It's like an NVIDIA thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like awkward
Yeah,
consonants.
just
next
too
to
many
each other.
consonants together.
When I came in, that's when I noticed. I was like, you guys are doing software like the 90s. I went in 17. There was absolutely no use of the public cloud, even for things. I'm not talking about network stuff. I'm talking about like basic stuff.
Back office.
And I was
whatever.
like, this seems kind of obvious. And then I ended up leaving Optiva in 2020. And I was like, let's just do public cloud. And this is going to work. It's come to every single industry, including governments. It will eventually come to telco too.
And that's why we've always, the amount of free publicity you get out of us, pretty much every time public cloud comes up, we name check you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cheerleader.
Yeah.
So there's two sides to what I do. So there's, three. There's Telco DR, which is the thought leadership. I have a podcast. I have a blog. I'm constantly all over
Ian's
LinkedIn.
been on your pod, hasn't he?
He has. Maybe one day you'll come too.
Right. Well, I'm
Yeah.
still waiting for my invite.
Okay, we'll do it. We'll do it. Lindsay's here. She'll write it down.
Make it so.
So previous to Optiva, I was, I called it a turnaround CEO. I'd buy software companies that were for sale for whatever reason and rehab them for high profitability. And
Right.
sometimes there was like really great tech that you could revive. Sometimes it
So
was
that's
just,
one of your core competencies is turning these things around.
yeah, I'm
Okay.
I'm actually really good at
No,
making
that's a really good skill
crappy
set.
companies.
That's a really good skill set because there's a hell of a lot of people who have the opposite skill set
Yeah.
who get good companies and turn them to shit. So it's nice to know. It's nice to know there's some people doing it the right way.
And they still walk away with the money.
We know a
Yeah.
few of those,
Yeah.
haven't we, Scott?
No, we don't know any of them, Ian. Shut up.
So Skyvera does that, and what's nice is it generates a very healthy profit that actually helps fund Totogi.
Yeah.
So, and then Totogi is a Silicon Valley startup that's actually in Texas. So it's brand new software, totally living the dream.
So you're Austin based.
Yeah, I'm in
Yeah.
Austin, and
That's where Yeti comes from, isn't it?
Yeti is down the street from my
So
house.
you're very brand loyal to Yeti.
I know.
And Matthew McConaughey.
right?
Yes, all
and,
right,
and Joe Rogan.
right.
There you are.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, I saw Joe Rogan in Austin.
There we are. You went to the
Yeah,
mothership, didn't
I
you?
did.
So we got that
With PA.
drawing.
Yeah. That
Anyway.
picture was drawn in Austin. That's on the wall there.
Oh.
Yeah. Which is
Yeah.
a picture of us. Although
Hanging
you can't
out.
really see it at the
at
moment.
Joe,
Yeah.
Joe
Ian
Rogan's
was not
place.
pleased to have to wait outside. I was like, trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you made it happen, didn't you?
Yeah.
You,
I
you
bribed
slipped
the
the geezer a tenner or something.
So it's a little bit of a symbiotic relationship
Yeah.
where if I buy some tech that could help Totogi, Totogi will use it. Totogi is building new products that maybe Skyvera customers are interested in. And so the strongest example is I bought CloudSense, which is a telco-focused CPQ, configure, price, quote product, sits on top of Salesforce with a fabulous list of tier 1 customers. And we've been able to go to like nearly half of them and talk to them and get them to use BSS Magic.
Right.
And when they see it working,
So
it's like
Skyvera is like the fund. It's like a fund.
a little bit,
basically.
yeah. I mean, it's the profit. So
Yeah.
we use that. I mean, I'm still returning a profit, but I use that money if I want to. I
Yeah.
use it to either buy more companies or fund Totogi.
And Totogi's in one specific part of the BSS OSS space, which, I mean, I'm grouping it as BSS OSS because traditionally that's how people have talked about it. I know things are maybe a bit different now, but it's in one particular bit
It's
of
focused
that,
in BSS because I think when it comes to AI, that's where it's going to be the tip of the spear.
Yeah, okay.
Versus network. I think it's much harder to break in as a startup, small company with new software on the network side.
So where would Totogi come in where people have been using traditional solutions, let's say, you know, pre-2017 stuff, and who are you going up against? I guess who are the traditional guys?
What do you bring to the table?
We started with a charging product because that's what I knew from Optiva.
Yeah.
So we have a charging as a service product that runs completely in the.
Is charging the same as billing?
No, it's rating.
Oh.
So it's more real time than billing. Billing is more invoicing.
Oh, okay.
Right? In a prepaid situation.
Oh, so it's a more sort of dynamic real time.
Right. It's like for a prepaid, I'm going to go check your balances before I let you download that YouTube video.
Right.
Oh, you're out of balance. You need to top up.
I hear you now.
So it's kind of like an ATM automatic teller machine. Right, it's more like a money machine, or it's a monetization engine.
And it's real time, so to use your ATM metaphor, so you can't withdraw some money from one and then leg it to another one.
Right, and the telcos,
and hope to con it.
The telcos are like, I'm not going to give you like 1 penny extra of
especially
data.
not on prepaid.
Right, exactly, because they don't know if they're ever going to top up again, and they're just giving away free service.
Is that what you used to do when you were at university?
What, try and
go to one ATM and then run to another one before?
I certainly remember
race condition, literally.
I certainly remember testing my overdraft limit a few times. But even a drunken 18-year-old Scot could be outsmarted by their system.
No, when I was at university, I specifically picked a bank that would allow you to withdraw $5 at a time.
Oh, to limit yourself,
right? Because some of the banks have like a minimum withdrawal number, and it was like 10 or 20.
Oh, so
I needed 5
because that's all the money you had.
I had like 7 and I couldn't access it. I'm like, I got to go to the bank that would let me pull out 5 so I could have $2 left over. I mean, poor. It was brutal.
Yes.
So the guys who've been in telco software for years would be doing charging solutions, I guess.
Yeah, so we'd go up against Ericsson. Amdocs has their OpenNet purchase. Nokia had a charger, sold a charger, is building a charger again. Optiva has a charger, and so do we. And
so it's a pretty competitive market already.
It really is, and it's a heart transplant because it's your monetization engine. And so our claim to fame there was Zain Sudan it's one of the most active civil wars on the planet, and the rebels attacked on premise. They had Ericsson BSS and charging running in 2 separate data centers in the capital of Khartoum, and they got bombed. The electricity got cut,
right?
And they were just dead. And they did it also to MTN. So there was like just zero mobile service. This was right before MWC 24, and we had been talking to them about a backup to their backup using cloud and would it work? And we designed it on paper, but they were sort of stalling. Well, about 2 weeks before MWC 24, they called us and they said, we've just been cut. We're dead. We have no access to anything. Can you get charging up in 2 weeks? And I'm like, guys, you would give anyone in the world 18 months to stand up a charger, and you're giving me 2 weeks? P.S. I think I can do it. And, it took me 18 days. So awesome.
I just teased Iain about giving you a softball question, but I'm going to give you the ultimate softball question. Danielle, have you recently demonstrated spinning up BSS from nothing in a very short amount of time?
I did. I mean, so that's the other big product that we've been working on, which is BSS Magic. And I talked about this also at MWC 24 with the vision of empowering CSPs and operators to build their own BSS with AI. And I think that is their dream, right? Not speaking from a vendor perspective, but if you go talk to like a Lester Thomas or a head of IT, they're like, we just want to write it. But it's been just hard to maintain. It's wide. It's huge. I mean, there's no one definition of BSS. You could say it's 5 modules. You could say it's 25 modules, right? It's different things to different people. They're using it in B2B, B2C situations, IoT situations. Oh, we're going to stand up a down brand. We don't want it to touch our main brand, so we have another BSS for that. So it's a very complicated situation. And I stood on stage and said, that's what we're working towards, allowing you to write your own BSS. And I remember looking in the audience, people shaking their heads and scoffing, like literally scoffing at me. And I'm like, I sort of felt like Elon Musk.
So it's a tool to build a BSS?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And that's not like it's only...
But what happens to your charging product then if they can just do their own, or is it...
They can use it if they want or not or whatever. Right. Yeah, it's there. It's not going away, but...
So you're not worried, which I think what Ian was asking, you're not worried about cannibalizing your own stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, that's actually the most forward way of looking at things. In fact, on the last pod, we invoked that venerable example of Kodak that sat on digital photography technology for ages because it had such a cash cow in the film, and then that all went horribly wrong.
Oh, right.
So you can't.
Well, you have to.
You can't be too afraid of cannibalising your own cash cows.
But aren't these BSS systems that are in place at the moment are fairly complex things? With, I'm guessing, I mean, they are software based, aren't they? It's not like we're talking about boxes and optical equipment and this sort of thing.
Yeah.
But they're very complicated software tools that link to all parts of the business. Yep. I'm not in this area, obviously, so I'm trying to understand the nitty-gritty, but the idea of somebody being able to come along and kind of replicate that from AI from scratch sounds... I mean, people are going to say it sounds far-fetched, I guess.
It does. And it works, which is so crazy. Our idea here is not... A Tier 1 CSP isn't going to say, hey, let's replicate, our entire BSS stack with this Totogi, write our own thing and deploy it overnight. We don't think that's how it's actually going to go down. The demonstration, over the last couple of days in Düsseldorf was more about, if you can do this, you can do everything easier than this.
Yep.
This is really hard. And so we're not even arguing this is
so it's like filling gaps at first, probably, with how it could be used.
Lester Thomas, again, I love this quote. He was on a podcast with TM Forum in, I think it was 2021.
He used to be at Vodafone, yeah?
He is still Vodafone.
He's still at Vodafone, okay.
Yeah, he's at Vodafone Group. He's one of the main guys that came about with TM Forum's ODA, their open architecture, that tries to solve this vendor interoperability problem, which is he has 5,000 BSS products installed across 20 some odd opcos. 5,000.
Yep.
They're not all from the same vendor, right? They're homegrown systems, mainframe systems, legacy systems, Amdoc systems.
How's this? This is just a product of consolidations gone over the years. You've picked up new businesses.
Well, like I
said, things and bolted it on.
Like
and then
I said,
before you know it, it's just
you have a B2C stack, which is your main stuff. You have a B2B stack, which you're like, well, that has different needs. We just came up with a down brand of whatever. We bought something, right? And so over the years, you've stitched them together. It's a pile of spaghetti mess. So when you want to replace, like, let's say one vendor makes you mad or goes out of business or whatever, right? The Optiva thing happens and you're installed there. You're deeply in the middle of the spaghetti pile. How do you take that one noodle out without screwing up everything? And they're stuck, right? And this is one of the reasons why they don't have agility and they can't move fast. Like launching an iPhone 17, it's probably a 6-month process to get the website updated, the catalog ready, right? The plans ready, network ready, right? Like, oh, we're going to support eSIM on this launch. It is not something like, oh, new phone came out, no big deal. Let's go live in one day. It's a pain. And so, they talk about moving at the speed of telcos. Why can't we be that good? And I'm like, it's this legacy crap. We got to get out of it. So BSS Magic attempts to solve that problem. And not by saying move to 100% Totogi system. I'm actually saying keep exactly what you have installed. We call that layer the data layer, right? We connect to that. Doesn't matter what system it is. And then next,
this is through these APIs that you're talking about.
It could be APIs. It could be MCP, Model Context Protocol from the AI vendors. There's lots of different ways to access it without.
So you don't need ODA to do it.
You don't need ODA to do it, but
almost makes you wonder why ODA is necessary if you consider to use.
It's
MCP
useful.
Or something
it's
instead.
useful. It's a nice standard that everyone's agreed on, right? And a lot of vendors.
Shooting me when I leave the pod, but
there's a lot of vendors.
That's what I was how dare youing about.
There's a lot of vendors that support it, so that's kind of nice, right? Even Amdoc supports it, right? They're moving right up the API certification leaderboard that TM Forum maintains and reports on, which is great. And so okay, now I can connect to it. And then our middle layer, which is I think where our IP really sits, is this ontology layer that understands telco. It is the context engineering. It expects to talk to BSS. It knows about BSS. We call it the vocabulary of telco, the nouns and the verbs.
So sorry, go on.
That word ontology.
It's come up a few times recently.
Yeah, I mean, I actually linked it. So I wrote up your story, what you just achieved in Germany.
Yep.
Simple headline, I just said Totogi automates BSS code writing. And your claim prior to it, I might as well, while I'm being generous, I might as well tell you what your claim was.
I love it. I'm going to just bring you more beers. That's really why I do it.
I'm such a cheap date.
Beer and koozies.
Is that you were going to build 500,000 lines of BSS code in one day.
Yep.
And then Jen, who's patiently waiting outside from Liberty, sent me and Iain a follow-up email today to say what you actually did achieve.
Yeah.
And so you're going to aim for 5 core modules plus an audience-weighted feature. So I guess that's your way of saying this isn't pre-prepared. You come up with something.
So this is what you've just done.
This is what they've just done. Yeah.
We really started with the premise of no one believes us.
Yeah.
Right? The CSPs are skeptical, and I think there is a lot of AI slop out there. People saying, slideware, saying they have it.
Yeah. It's attached to everything right now, isn't it?
How do you prove it works? And we're like, we're going to bring a coder and code in front of you.
Yeah.
I mean, if you guys have a better idea of how to prove it, tell me.
No, I mean, I think as I wrote in the conclusion to the piece I wrote about yours, I said, I'll just read myself back. While we have no reason to question Totogi's claims, it's hard to avoid wondering if there's a catch to all this AI expedited coding. So many utopian claims are being made on behalf of AI these days that sometimes turn out to be too good to be true. And I linked to that thing about the maths that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And then just one more sentence, sorry, mate. But it's not for us to assess the merits of this offering, only to tell you about it. Totogi will doubtless be delighted to do another live demo for any potential customer that expresses even passing curiosity.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate.
No, I think the live demos is great because obviously that's the way to kind of.
I mean, we let
off,
anyone who asked us. I think we made over 300 commits to production.
Right.
So that's how many times we shipped to a place where AI thought it was ready to go, and anyone can go play with it. And we let anyone who wanted to touch it at the show play with it.
So the ontology thing you're talking about, though, how is this done, basically? Was this a case of leaning... I mean, you were talking earlier on about these large language models that have come out of OpenAI, and Anthropic was the other one I think you mentioned.
Yeah.
Was it sort of based on working with one of the...
So it's definitely LLM, right?
Yeah.
There's a LLM involved.
You're not going to tell us which one, though.
And then, well, I mean... I think we're using Claude Code for the moment because it's the best coder.
Right.
And
that would have been my assumption.
We
on
like
that
it a lot,
Yeah.
but it's set up in a way that if something better came along, we could switch. It's set up in a way that if a CSP, like SKT is really deep with Anthropic. I think T-Mobile spent $100 million with OpenAI.
Yeah.
It's set up in a way where if a CSP is like, I have a model preference, we could switch.
And there are lots of good reasons why you don't want to be monogamous with LLM anyway.
I mean,
and you've thrown lots of data at that you've got from your experience.
We've added a lot of telco context.
Yeah.
Right. And so, like I said, it expects to be interacting in BSS, in telco.
Yeah.
That's what it's always expecting.
Because if it's going to be that good and it's going to be capable of working with all these different
That's
systems
what makes
and
it so
vendors,
good, I think, is that piece.
Yeah.
I do use Cursor, which is a horizontal coding development environment. Very, very popular, probably the best one right now on the market that a lot of software engineers are using. We use Cursor, right, because we still need a coding environment. We use these other tools, LangChain to create agents. We use these horizontal tools, but the key is that context engineering. It's going to create something that you're really what you want for this scenario, for telcos.
Yeah.
You can't take this and say, okay, let's go to a manufacturing setup and go. I could not generate 500,000 lines of code for BMW, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I've done a lot of work on the ontology.
So this has been worked on for like a couple of years.
2 years.
2 years, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've gone through a lot of dev teams, right?
Yeah.
I've fired, right? I'm like, you guys don't get it. You're not getting anywhere. And then we finally had a big breakthrough, I would say, in the last 9 months, where finally it was like, okay, right, it's exactly what we're looking at. But true story, right? Deutsche Telekom, obviously in Düsseldorf, they have a big office there. They're like, hey, can it do this? And we're like, go to your panel, and on the next break, it'll be done. And it was.
Right.
It was a CR.
Well, if you can actually, because that was the point of the final paragraph of my story about this, is it's all very well you demonstrating it in what still, if you were skeptical, which some people are,
They will be.
If you're skeptical, could think is maybe a bit of a curated environment or something like that. Whereas if you're doing it in vivo, in front of people, I would have thought that's quite compelling.
Yeah.
What's the job of the guy?
The human, the one
network?
guy.
Yeah. So what does he do? He goes, I need a BSS thing to kind of fill in the gaps here. And I've got this problem to solve. But what's left for him to do then?
So there's we have this.
Sorry.
Yeah, no. I mean, they're great, curious questions. So he is scheduling the work a little bit, watching it work. Sometimes it comes back
It is
and
him. You're lucky.
It's stuck or something and needs more help. Again, he is the master brain. He knows what we're about to go build. He knows all the features and how they connect, what the architecture should be. He knows.
But he's not actually coding, or she's not actually coding. They're putting in prompts and this sort of thing?
Correct.
They are. Okay.
Zero writing of one line of code or looking at the code.
Right.
Right? This
So
manual...
sophisticated prompts is basically what this person's
doing.
Right.
I mean, there's prompts built in because, again, like it knows that we're going to build a BSS today. It knows that context. So he doesn't have to work.
But it's not like I could do this, is it?
So what? Yeah, I was going to say, following off that, what skill set does that one individual that you use in this?
Telco and AI, right, is really
so they need to be good at both.
Correct.
I was going to follow up. In fact, I went off on a tangent, not like me, is it? Earlier when we were talking about ontology, because I heard we went to. I linked to this in the story about your thing as well.
Yeah.
We went to an Ericsson BSS OSS thing, and there's a chap from Telstra, I think.
Yep.
And he was going on about ontology, and it was the first time I'd heard it. I mean, for you, this will be old news.
Yeah.
But it's the first time I'd heard it, and I looked it up, and I noted at the time it's got a broader philosophical meaning, like the study of the meaning of life sort of thing. But in the context of AI, it's at least the way he described it, and I'll pass it to you to refine this description. It's about making the data and the AI more useful, and part of this is through packaging the input in such a way as to sort of optimize the output. That was one of the takeaways I got from it. But you tell me, what do you mean by ontology in this context?
We mean the nouns and verbs of the industry. So example nouns would be subscriber, device, SIM, cell tower.
I see.
Right? And then the verbs
and understanding
are like
the significance of those.
And then the verbs are like what you can do, like onboarding, deactivating, provisioning. And so when you put the nouns and verbs together, I mean, you make sentences. How do they interact with each other? How do they communicate with each other? What are the different states they might have? What are the different business logic you might want to add to them, right? Like the concept of a premium, types of subscribers, premium versus, prepaid versus postpaid, VIP versus high ARPU VIP versus regular guy. And so these are all the things that telcos, when you think about the business of a telco, like the language that goes on inside there.
Quite specific.
That's what we're trying to encapsulate.
Yeah.
Right?
Makes sense.
To train AI. Right? And so I did this 5-minute speech right in front of a panel, really, really short. But this thing knows telco like your best experts know telco. Imagine if you could channel Santiago Tenorio, Iago, right, who was at Vodafone and now at Verizon. He's maybe one of the best thinkers of network currently in our industry. What if you could channel his brain to think about your network design?
Yeah. He wouldn't like that.
He wouldn't like that.
He probably would. I don't know. You have to ask him.
But like your best...
Get a Iago bot.
Right? But like your best experts, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, how do people interact, right? Like just in any business.
But is one challenge, like generative AI makes, things arguably easier for people. Like if you want to write an essay, you can put in a simple prompt and get it done and you don't have to put in the hard work. But is one challenge with BSS Magic that it still requires someone who's very, very skilled to be able to take advantage of this. Well, so you're not only going to have the telco knowledge, but the AI knowledge as well, and be able to combine those. It's not like you could put Scott in there and get him to do this stuff. Sorry, I don't know why I use Scott as an example.
An example of a complete dunce.
But is there a skill? Is there oddly a kind of skills gap in terms of getting this sort of thing out? Because the telcos they might have the domain knowledge, but they don't have the AI knowledge.
Well, they don't have people that we talked about at the very beginning of the pod here, right? They don't have the skills of people who know how to wield these AI development tools, right? And that's been super key for us is building up a team that knows that and then coupling it with telco knowledge. But we've encapsulated a lot of the telco knowledge in there. And so kind of easing the load on we call them forward deployed engineers, right? Easing the load on those guys where it's like more of like, okay, really focus on the AI because a lot of it is built in, but just make sure, architect the system so that, you're just watching it. You're babysitting the code.
Right.
You're making sure it's getting done. And then like sometimes it'll say like, hey, I need help. And then the architect goes in and it's like, okay.
So it does do that?
Mm-hmm.
If you get a rush of telcos wanting to take advantage of this, as I'm sure you would be very happy to have,
yes,
would they need you guys to go in and sort of train them up and show them how there's like a sort of service
I'm
side
actually,
of it?
Based on the success of the event this week, thinking about launching a service to train people for telcos at scale.
Right.
So I'll give you an example. Something that's happening in Austin is a cool program called Gauntlet AI. My son actually went through it this summer. And it's a 10-week program, 3 weeks remote, and 7 weeks in Austin to teach you how to code with AI. And the monetization, it's completely free for the participant. You're guaranteed a $200,000 job offer at the end. And the way that the owners, I know, it's nice. The way the owners monetize it is, at the end of the program, they're letting companies hire these individuals. So they come in not really trained on AI and they leave very skilled on AI.
Right.
And so it's a nice
And the AI industry is chucking money at talent.
I mean, there was like $100 million starting
was that
bonuses
Meta or
that
something?
people turned down.
Yeah.
Yes.
Iain, do you remember we were in
We're in the wrong job, Scott.
We went to New York. We went to New York a little while back.
Yeah.
And one time we were out meeting his wife Magda, and we were just sat in a beer garden, and we heard these youngish women, let's say, I'm going to guess 30s or 40, younger than me anyway. And they were having a chat, and one of them was going, yeah, they offered me $1 million to stay in, and I just said, no way. and we were just like, fucking hell.
You're like,
do you remember that?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
right? No, I think the $100 million Meta offer was turned down by the open. So it is a mega war. And I think telcos, how are telcos going to develop this talent or acquire it?
I wonder if they can afford to.
They can't. Yeah. And so they're going to have to build it on their own. And I'm like, maybe we, because I've been building it. I helped the guy that runs Gauntlet AI. I helped him. I've run similar training programs. And so I kind of advised him and saw the program. My son went through cohort 2. He got 6 $200,000 job offers as first-year university kid. He's like, Mom, should I drop out? And I'm like, absolutely not. He's
Why?
like, well, I was like,
$200,000, Daniel.
Well, this is what I said.
You
I
can
was
just
like,
finish it later.
Well, I said you've now established a floor for your market.
So it's upwards from there.
And when you graduate, you're going for $1 million out of school.
Fucking hell, beers are on him.
He bought them.
No, but I mean, good for him and good for you for obviously helping him get to that spot.
But he didn't believe, right? Like he was like, recently divorced. I don't know if you guys knew that. So I got divorced about 2 years ago.
For a minute, I thought you were saying your son was. I was thinking, God, he's really not wasting any time, is he?
Well, but I was married.
No, I know you were because you were Royston and now you're Rios.
And now I'm Rios, back to my maiden name. But my ex-husband actually is a very brilliant software developer, architect, right? Principal architect at Shopify. Okay. He's now taken a CTO role.
So you're saying your son's genetically cheating?
Well, we both have computer science degrees, right? But Benjamin doesn't know how to code, right? He's a freshman at Rice studying computer science. And, we were talking about Benjamin going through Gauntlet AI before the program started. And my husband is very skeptical of AI being able to generate code. And I'm on the very opposite of the spectrum of like, it's amazing. I'm building a product that's writing code now. And Benjamin's like, who do I listen to? My brilliant dad or... I hope he says his boyfriend.
Your husband's point's interesting because I know...
You both keep saying husband. You just told her you got divorced and you called him your husband.
It's
confusing, Daniel.
It's recent.
But I guess AI coders would have the same maybe resistance to this that a writer has to having AI produce something. Yep. And I know some people are concerned that... I was chatting about this to someone earlier about AI kind of doing all of the code and how you're so far removed then from what's actually going on that it becomes... Actually, there's a guy on LinkedIn, I've got it here, because and this wasn't specifically to do with your thing, but
just a generic.
Let me look it up.
It wasn't the troll last night on Twitter that was coming after me about this?
Oh, were you?
A little guy, yes.
He's hassling you about this BSS Magic thing?
He's like...
He's calling bullshit on it, wasn't he?
He was.
Right. He's called Josh Anderson. I mean, he's one of those people who's got loads and loads of
We
followers.
can link
He's a
his
CTO
link in the
somewhere.
in
But
the
he
show
said,
notes.
I spent 3 months using AI
I do
to
the
write
show notes.
every line of code for a new product. Not because I couldn't code. I've been doing it for 25 years. I needed to know what happens when you go 100% AI, because every client asked me the same question: how should our engineering team use AI? The product shipped, it worked, I felt productive for about 3 months. Then I needed to make a simple change, and I realised I couldn't confidently modify my own product. 25 years of experience, and I'd become helpless looking at code I directed an AI to write. And he goes on, but it's emphasising that point, I guess, that you become too far removed from what you're doing that it then becomes hard to
But do you
step back
I
into
mean,
it.
and I was a developer, right? I have a computer science degree, so I totally get this world. And so when you're a developer, you literally have every line of code pretty much in your head. When you really know a product, you know, like something's wrong. You're like, well, it's in this module. It's probably this thing. It's probably this type of problem. And you can go right to it and fix it and feel very confident about knowing where it is. And with AI, you just don't need to do that anymore, right? I think it's still important to architect it. And we've done that like for the thing that we did, you know, over the last couple of days in Germany. We're like, okay, this is what you're building. It needs to be able to support this many subscribers. It needs to, in these parts, it needs to be very performant, right? So you can't just write anything, right? And just like in school, you learn what algorithms are best for things. And so you still need to know
what
those
school
things.
you went to.
Yeah.
We didn't cover that at my school.
But I guess the concern is that the stepping stones that you would start off on are not there. I mean, I use an analogy that you'll really like because you're into tennis.
Yeah.
But you know when they completely replaced line calls at Wimbledon this year? I know it's happened in other tournaments, but Wimbledon, it was like a big news story because they'd basically used Hawkeye to get rid of the line judges. And me and I think a lot of people looked at that and thought, well, you can't really tell if the ball's hit the chalk because it's too quick these days. It's actually quite a good move. But a lot of the umpires didn't like it because they said that's the training route for you to go through to then be an umpire. You spend time on the court, you learn how it all works, you get used to how things happen, and then you go and become an umpire. If you get rid of those people, then you lose the kind of training route to be. And it just seems to me like, I mean, it's a simple way of putting it, like this is much more complicated and therefore potentially
I think you
more
still
risky.
need to have a computer science degree, right? I mean, Benjamin through Gauntlet AI, he'll hate this story, but I'm gonna put it on the record. So the very first day, his assignment was to rewrite Grammarly, which is this little tool that writers use to help you fix your.
Some writers.
Thank
you very much.
Inside out,
Not like some goddamn computer tell me how to write. Anyway, carry on.
So, you know, it's MVP is due in 24 hours. And Benjamin is not a coder. I mean, he's only had like a couple of maths classes.
Yeah, thank you.
And maybe like an intro to computer science. And he's dabbled, but he has tears in his eyes because he's like, Mom, I can't do this. And I'm like, Benjamin.
It just seems insurmountable.
He's like, because he's thinking like a coder. He's like, I can't generate all the code that is going to be required to build this application. And I'm like, Benjamin, this is an AI training program, so use AI. And I actually spun around at my desk, and I did it right there, right? And I was like...
Using the AI?
Yeah.
Just to show him how straightforward it is.
It took me 5 minutes, and I was like, there's a Grammarly clone. Now, I'm sure you have some other requirements to do. This isn't the whole thing because I don't know the assignment. But And he looked at me, and he was like, I'll be back, Mom. I'll be back. Right? And he worked all night.
That's an appropriate catchphrase when we're talking about AI. I'll be back.
I'll be back. So he finished it, right? And after that first week of Gauntlet AI, he was like, Mom, you're right and Dad's wrong. AI is gonna be...
I can see why you like that anecdote.
That's great. Right? So, yeah. I've just a different world. It's a different way of thinking.
It is. And I get that. For all my naysaying and Ludditism, I get that it's inevitable.
Yeah.
And that it can be very useful.
Right.
And it can be very productivity enhancing and all that sort of thing. And so much of it, it's, you know, we're still such early days. I mean, we're only really talking about it in the way we are now since ChatGPT first came along a couple of years ago. And so much of, hopefully, a good education is going to be, I don't know if specifically prompt engineering, but how to best interact with this incredibly powerful resource.
Absolutely.
Not only to make it useful for you, but also in a sort of safe way. And obviously, as I'm sure you're acutely aware, there's industry springing up to do with ethics and safety and guardrails and all that sort of thing.
But I'll say one thing, as we probably are going to change topics here in a
well,
second.
I got one last question, but you say that, and then I got one last thing.
Which
throw
is,
in, if we
back in the day, we coded with punch cards, which required you to know zeros and ones to make the machine do what you wanted
binary,
to.
yeah.
And I'm sure there was resistance to adopting higher order, programming languages that was programming in English, C.
Yeah.
The C language was if then, right? And it would compile it down to the zeros and ones.
Even I've done that.
Right?
Yeah.
And so there was that shift. I think this is that same shift.
Yeah.
It's just, we're just going up higher on the chain. You still absolutely need to understand fundamental computer science principles and architecting and patterns and all that stuff. But I don't think you need to know every single line of code to support a product anymore.
So my last question is kind of builds on that, and it also is a follow-up on the question Iain asked about this concern about underlying human competence.
Yeah.
So one of your answers, sorry, I can't put it into context, but one of your answers to one of Ian's queries was like, well, you don't need that anymore, or something to that effect. My concern that I share with Iain, to the point of this guy that he read out from LinkedIn, where he feels out of the loop.
Yep.
I can already see us getting
out of the loop.
Well, there we are.
Yeah.
I can already see us getting to a point of automation and of AI-infused activity where that was it. You say you don't need that anymore, like in terms of problem solving. But this is what I query, and I don't want to misquote you, so feel free to correct me. But if you get to a point where you've created something with AI, and then you're reliant on AI for the problem solving, but let's say for whatever reason, and this will be a segue to our next segment as well, the AI can't solve that problem, there needs to be a redundancy. There needs to be a de-escalation where you can go, all right, AI, you're dropping the ball here. The big boys
It's another AI.
are going to step in.
It's another AI.
No, a human being needs to be able to step in and go, right, I'm fucking taking over here.
You're too obsessed with humans. Get rid of the humans.
Well, there we are. That's kind of the point.
Yeah, I think you can ask. I saw it this summer with Benjamin and Scott, where Benjamin, by the end of the summer, would take a snapshot of the bug and send a picture to Cursor and say, this is my bug, fix it. And then he would pick up his phone and like watch YouTube while it worked, and then he'd come back and see it. And then with Scott, ex-husband, would be like, show me your code, because he wants to go into the code. And Benjamin just was like, AI will fix it. AI, I just need to go find it. But you could just say, hey, AI, tell me about your code so I can, if I needed to, the code's still there. You can still pull it open. Right, it's a lot.
But to the point that Iain illustrated about how this geezer reckoned he couldn't even get into the code and make sense of it.
Yeah, I mean, I
correctly.
It's not. I share that concern that what if something goes wrong? But even if it's infallible, let's say, I still think there's a concern about relying on something that eventually, if we believe what Jensen Huang and people tell us, it's going to outstrip human capability and we won't understand it.
Yeah.
And then it's a case of, what do people do, actually, I guess? I mean, if we can't have a world just of people who do prompting or something, let's say. And well,
why not?
I don't know. Okay.
We have a world of people who write code. I mean, it's the same thing. It's just a different kind of code.
Yeah, I know. I just feel it raises a lot of questions. I mean, this is very futuristic sounding.
Right.
But if it's a world where AI is able to do so many of the things that are done now in white collar roles, and let's say robotics is capable of actually replacing a lot of other stuff, and there's sort of questions about what people actually do that I think are different from earlier phases of automation. Very different, I think.
Yeah, I think there was a World Economic Forum stat that yes, AI is going to eliminate a lot of jobs, but it's going to create a lot of jobs more. Right? And so I don't think
that's my worry is whether it will.
I don't think we're going to have like zombie world of people who don't have jobs, or like, what was that Ready Player One movie where no one was working.
VR and stuff.
Right. And so, everyone was living in the VR world and they didn't have work. And all. I think there's been lots of technological advances. Humans
I know.
persevere.
We talk about this on the pod a lot, but it seems like this one's quite different because it's replacing a lot of the cognitive stuff that people have gone into when they haven't been doing manual work. And another thing because we are going to have to move on at some point, but I was going to ask you, like, taking a step back from that, how you feel it's going so far in telco specific, because from my observations, there's a lot of talk about AI and a lot of what it could do, but I was looking at China Mobile's numbers the other day for a bit of a deep dive, and they're regarded as this incredibly advanced, sophisticated operator that's even talking about level 5 by something like 2030. And their headcount is 450,000 people. Now, okay, you could say it's a big country, and they need lots of people to work in stores and everything. But in 2019, it was less. So it's gone up over these 6 years of them probably starting to dabble in AI and everything.
Right.
And I feel a lot of these companies that have cut jobs, they've not really realised cost benefits from it. You see the margins are still quite compressed. I'm sort of wondering are telcos really benefiting from anything they're doing in automation at the moment or AI?
I haven't really seen it. I don't know about the network side in terms of the automation, but I haven't seen them deploying it at scale really, where everyone's still talking about like this 2030. It's still aspirational. It's still in the future. So we'll see. I don't know if they're going to cut jobs or shift. We have fewer people in customer support, but more people in another area. You don't roll out AI just across the company all at once. And like I was talking about earlier, I'm like, going from 0 to 1, where you're getting something working, right, is really hard. And even a small company like Totogi, like one group of my organization adopted it readily, no issues. Another one, I have to smack them. I'm like, did you use AI for this? And they're just like, you can't use AI for that. I'm like, oh, right? And we're small.
Yeah.
And
you'd love employing me and Iain. Get some real fucking resistance.
I'd be like, what is your deal? And so but I'll tell you another thing on the flip side of that coin is the people who've started to use it, if I said, I'm going to take it away from you now, they would be like, no way. This is amazing.
No, I get it. And I get some of it's generational.
Well, it's addictive.
Well, but
it's so amazing.
But it's what you're used to. This is a generational cliche where like all young people are all into this these days when you're 54 like I am.
You thought the iPad was not going to catch on.
Yeah, exactly. My big prediction when they launched the iPad is it's just a big iPod. What's the fucking point of that? It is just a big
iPod.
You're like, hello?
Where it was a failure of my imagination was all the other ways. I mean, especially when you look at it in like retail and stuff, how ubiquitous. Anyway, but my kids' generation, my son's done a course. It certainly doesn't sound as high flying as your son's course, and he's certainly not coming home telling me he's turning down $200,000.
You should try Gauntlet AI.
I know. I might have a word.
Yeah.
Get him to listen to this pod. I go, look, Danielle's son's doing it. What's wrong with you? But he's still doing stuff, and actually, to the point of layers of abstraction, he's learning Python, which is a layer of abstraction above all the coding stuff that you know.
Yeah.
So yes, I get it. With successive generations, to coin a term that you used and raise event, there will be more AI native as they grow up. Mm-hmm. Whereas, people like us, and we're writers, so you're going to get a bit more resistance from us. Like I was half joking about Grammarly. Yeah. We're a bit precious about the words that come out of our brilliant minds. But it will become more endemic. It will become more baked in. Just like for when I was at school, computers were pretty basic, weren't they? So I can see all that.
I mean, again, with writing, especially because I do a lot of writing. I'm not like as prolific as you guys are, but I write a blog every 2 weeks, and so I'll start with I know what I want to say, and if you understand my style, AI, let me give you some bullet points of like the facts of the story. Like I'm gonna talk about blah 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 blah, and it pumps out a version that's 90% what you probably would have done, and then you go from there. You're just
the purist in me pushes back even on that.
But why? It's still you.
But it's not.
It's your take. It's your
me
angle.
Tweaking something that something else has done. And I know you're saying, but it's derived from me and my.
You let it.
Yeah,
it is
think,
you.
I think what I'm really exhibiting here, as much as anything else, is my own cognitive inertia about the whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
I'm just like, no. But anyway, look, if you don't mind, because we've got a couple of other things we want to talk about, and we got a hard stop in about half an hour or so.
Okay, cool.
But talking about automated things going wrong.
Your favorite.
So I know it doesn't time fly in.
That was fast.
Do you need another beer? Or you're all right?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
I mean, you have your computer. Huh?
Gin and tonic?
Gin and tonic, no. Old-fashioned? No.
Yeah.
No, my beer is actually quite delicious.
We do have like a super strength whiskey from your part of the world.
Oh, my God.
If you want one.
Texas.
From Texas?
Yeah.
I expect you to drink it. What have I done with
It's called Brimstone.
Oh,
do you know
Brimstone. Oh, my gosh.
A bit of
That's
ice.
a terrible name.
A guy from Exa
Terrible
Infrastructure bought that in.
From
Jim Fagan from Exa Infrastructure. If you know that company. They do fibre networks.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not expecting you to start necking whiskey, although it could be quite entertaining if you did. But yes, so I've got to say, actually,
there's paperwork coming out.
Oh, look at her; she's prepared.
A little prepared.
I thought in this last segment we did, you did a really good job. Not that I expected anything less of defending the position.
Yeah.
And you've always been a great person, speaking for herself, but I suspect Iain as well, to stress test our scepticism against.
Yeah.
Because you're well prepared, obviously, thanks in no small part to Lindsay, I'm sure.
Yes.
And you know your stuff, because you're a coder and all that sort of thing. And in the past, we always used to have you as we said before, this public cloud evangelist. And a lot of our concerns were similar, which is an over-reliance on automation, over-reliance on any third party. And anyway, this week, there was just tailor-made ammunition for our
like
complaints.
salivating.
It was ideal timing, wasn't
It
it?
was.
It was. And so
great.
I'll quickly remind everyone, I'm sure this was this is so big, this is front page news on just regular news. I listen to Planet Rock while I'm working during the day, and they have this tiny little compressed shitty news bulletin once an hour, and it was even the front of the Planet Rock fucking news bulletin. And anyway, so it's AWS.
Well, I'll
Amazon,
tell you why.
So I'll quickly summarise it, and then I'll pass it to you. So AWS stands for Amazon Web Services, the biggest public cloud provider in the world. And
Not as big as they used to be, though.
No, but they still are, I think, a good chunk of market share ahead of...
only in terms of market share, they're
Yeah.
actually bigger.
Yeah. They've slowed
In a
down, but I
growing
think they're
market,
bigger. They're very huge.
Ahead of Azure second and Google third, I think.
Yeah, there's a bunch of neo clouds there now, aren't there, as well, coming along.
Indeed.
Well, the AI stuff, the
Neoclouds.
AI data
Sounds
centers
very-
are like Oracle and stuff,
Yeah, Oracle's doing well.
Are you sceptical about Oracle?
So let me finish this first.
Sorry.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, we could have a 4-hour
I know you were
thing.
wondering why it takes us 2 hours to do a pod. There's an illustration. Especially after we've had a couple of beers.
We'll go on to Oracle later.
Yeah, we'll get into Oracle. So let me quickly tee this up. A hell of a lot of people rely on AWS to run their digital infrastructure.
Yep.
And they had an outage in their US East 1 region or something like that. And it led to just loads of websites going down. Most of them, they sorted it out at their end within about a couple of hours.
Yeah. It was a DNS error.
Yeah. Well,
DynamoDB.
I wrote that up this morning, the actual specifics of it. And in fact, I'll come to that because this is one that really leans into my prejudices.
Yeah.
So my headline this morning was AWS blames massive outage on ... automation. And so they had these things go wrong, which I'm sure you know all about. But anyway, the long and short of it is a lot of websites went down. For some reason, telecoms.com and Light Reading seem to be particularly badly affected.
Yeah.
Without slagging off my employer, it looks like we need to build in a bit more redundancy at our end. And we were out for most of the day, weren't we?
Yeah.
And anyway, so that's it. I'll just finish there without getting to the nuts and bolts of it. There is an example of being over-reliant on a third party, even a very good, and I'm not saying AWS is not very good. It's got where it is on merit.
Yeah.
But even a very good one, there's an example of a massive downside of that. What you got to say to that?
Yeah, I have a lot to say about that. And I wrote a blog about it in 2022, actually, called Public Cloud Outages Are Your Problem.
Oh, you're putting it back on me, are you?
Well...
It was your fault, Scott. I knew there was
I should have known. Of course, it was my fault.
Now, I mean,
It's not like we're
I
having a
imagine
domestic.
like
it's always my fault.
I imagine your websites are through providers, and we'll talk about that. But
yes, I'm sure.
so US East 1 is
It's pretty old, isn't it? Now?
it's the oldest of the. It was the first. It's the oldest. It's the biggest, and it's the first place they put any new changes. And as a because of that risk, it is the cheapest for all the services. So a lot of startups and companies, when you're just kind of putting your services together, you'll put your stuff in US East 1 because it's cheap.
It didn't even occur to me that there was different pricing between different zones.
Right. So, for example, DynamoDB, which was a service affected, it is what Totogi's charging as a service uses. We use DynamoDB.
Yeah.
But I don't have my stuff in US East 1 because charging cannot go down. Like, that would be detrimental to Totogi.
So you're saying that a high degree of risk is priced into US East 1?
Correct.
Right.
But I also heard that US East 1 is where a lot of common stuff happens to do with the control plane.
Correct.
Therefore, you almost can't avoid it unless they've done like a European software
so
cloud
Boost
type
Mobile.
thing.
In your article.
Well, Boost Mobile went down, though. Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So Boost Mobile went down because they rely on a service called I guess it was S3 or it was or Route 53. It's like their DNS routing.
Peter Adderton didn't like my article.
Oh, okay.
The founder of Boost Mobile.
Yeah.
He had a massive go at me on LinkedIn.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
On LinkedIn. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I follow him on Twitter. He's very...
So that wasn't a message. That means he was publicly having a go at you.
It was in it's like
It's
a
on the
comment on
comments, right.
thing. but
So
it was,
I didn't realize Boost went down, and I researched it on the way to come talk to you.
I didn't know until I started wondering if they went down, and then they sort of admitted that
And
they
he
went
got-
down.
They
And
did.
he got defensive.
But I got in touch
But-
with Down Detector, who said that they had 5,000 complaints that day, that they couldn't get any signal at all,
Right.
but about 25,000
Right.
about the service. So they've got 7 million subscribers, but I think most of those are on AT&T and T-Mobile because their network is they're mainly
They have
MVNO
they have the
still.
multiple
Yeah, so
networks.
I guess their whole network was not really working.
So, like I wrote in my
hunch.
blog, you can spend more money to build more resilience into your product, right? Amazon has 4 major regions in the United States. Each region has at least 3 availability zones. An availability zone is a data center. They're usually about at least 50 miles apart. So you can have
So if there's a natural disaster or something,
correct. Like, will a flood happen, everywhere? Maybe, unless it's like Noah times, maybe not. But so you can do stuff with your setup at Amazon to fail over within region to another availability zone or to another region, right? So you
Yep.
can have cross regional. And with more resiliency is more cost. So
Yeah.
how resilient do you want to be?
Yeah.
So if you're a little startup, little tiny, maybe web hosting thing that's not that big, you're kind of optimizing on cost. You're going to put it into US East 1, and you're going to take the risk with the trade-off of the lower prices.
Or light reading and telecoms.com.
Right.
apparently.
So that's what they're doing. So you could sit there and tell your provider, move literally to any other data center. It probably won't be that much more expensive, but get out of US East 1 and you won't take the hit. So that's almost always where there's outages for AWS. If you go back like 4 or 5 years, maybe even 10 years, always US
Right.
East 1.
So smart CIOs have basically gone,
Don't put
this
in-
East 1 area,
Yeah.
we want to pay a bit more and actually ensure that it's
So
kind
I
of
have-
hosted.
I have
But
stuff in
can you
Singapore-
avoid that control plane common like?
Yes, you can. So with Boost Mobile, they could have backup redundancy in another region for that same service to automatically fail over. They might have a little bit more latency for like the East Coast people, but you're up. It's just a little bit slower, and then you fail back over.
They always haven't done that though.
They haven't done it,
Yeah.
right? And probably because they're small and they were struggling with all their money.
Well,
I mean,
and they're also sort of giving up on their network now anyway, aren't they? So I
right.
guess they're not going to
So
invest in
what's
it
the
now.
point?
Yeah.
So
Oh, he's not going to like that either. You'll get more LinkedIn aggro off him for saying that.
I mean, he was the guy who founded it as an MVNO.
Right, and then it got bought.
and
Yeah.
I
turned
know,
into
just
a network.
given that
But-
he's obviously feeling a bit defensive,
Yeah.
I was just
so
imagining that.
right, like I wrote this great blog that I'm probably gonna,
Even if you say so yourself.
Right. So I did not write this with AI. This is like 100% DR creation.
You didn't have
it's
the
probably
option then.
sucky, to be honest. If
On the contrary.
I,
On the contrary, it's full of your personality.
I wrote it with a quill
and your
and a-
unique
It'd be better
fingerprint.
and
for it.
ink
Oh, yeah.
back in the old days. But yeah, like it's a shared responsibility for resiliency,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, well, I
and
get
then,
that. That's a good point.
So are you? I mean, but then I'm going to flip it, right? Vodafone had an outage here last week.
They did. Yeah.
Right? And they blamed it on a third-party vendor upgrade. So things are going to go down.
Well,
right?
that is exactly what Peter Adderton said
Yeah.
on his LinkedIn thing.
Yeah.
He said this is silly because any network can go down, and exactly like Vodafone went down, and it was like really disruptive for loads of businesses. And I take that point. I guess if I was going to
Telefonica was down in the summer.
they were.
right?
I guess if I was going to push back on that, I'd say when a private cloud goes down or an on-premises thing, it just affects that company. And okay, if it's a network serving millions of people, it's still bad. But
Right.
if AT&T, let's say, and Verizon and T-Mobile had done what Boost Mobile's done and gone, let's rely on AWS,
Yeah.
then it would have been really like catastrophic for like.
But
comms
I
in
was
North America.
interacting with AI, and I was like, how long would it take Boost Mobile to do this redundancy assuming you're still with an AWS heavy strategy,
Yeah.
right? Given right now clearly they're in US East 1, but let's set up resiliency, 3 to 5 business days.
Right.
It's an interesting thing, actually.
Yeah.
When I wrote my thing, was that this morning? Yeah, my thing about automation, confirming my prejudices, as I admit. And I said my final sentence in it, and this is interesting, I want you to tell me, even allowing for the fact that, if you don't mind me saying it, you have a bias in favour of the public cloud. Whereas I wrote, this is probably a good time to be in the redundant private cloud business. Now, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm just a journalist. But the reason I thought of that, we obviously know about the hybrid cloud, which is it's kind of hedging your bets a little bit. And I just thought the one thing you can really trust, because what you described, I didn't know about these different regions and these different things, so that's really interesting to know. But what you described is still, for me, a slightly, I don't know, jarring sales pitch. Where like, you can have this, but it might be shit, so pay us more money and you can go and you can have a backup in case this one's shit. It just feels like a slightly counterintuitive sales pitch. Obviously, the way I'm positioning it isn't the way they position it. But the ultimate one, in theory, you can trust, although I'm sure you've got objections to that, is to have some kind of redundant private cloud, like local infrastructure.
Well, I mean, you can do that, but I think your cost goes up, right?
Exactly.
Like,
so you might as well hedge your bets on AWS or whatever.
Yeah, I mean...
would that be cheaper? Would it be cheaper to have redundancy within a different region of AWS rather than having your own private situation?
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
That makes sense.
Right? And especially just bringing it back to the AI thing, I see a lot of telcos wanting to build their own AI data center on-prem for sovereignty reasons or whatever. And we had a telco do an estimate. They asked us, how much would it cost for us to set up our own AI data center to do whatever they were doing. And our estimate was like $185 million.
Oh my God.
And so I was like, okay, let's just take that number. But in this scenario, this telco in the Middle East wants to start a new business. They want to use heavy AI. They want to do all these crazy things, and they want to host their own LLM, and they want their own GPUs. And I'm like, you have so many variables on this brand new business. You don't know if it's even going to work.
But that's quite an
why
extreme.
Why overinvest in something that
That's
why
quite
don't
an
you
extreme
use the public
vision.
cloud? Why don't you use the public cloud?
Yeah, I think
and figure out if it's going to work, and if it does, and it's great, and it's a wild success, and you still want to do your own hosting of your LLM and your GPUs, then do it at a later date.
I think what they've done is have a very extreme interpretation of sovereignty, because Europe's vision of sovereignty doesn't necessarily mean you don't use AWS. I think at the moment you can use AWS, but it's where the control plane sits for the European sovereign cloud with Amazon, I think, is in Germany, which is sort of suits people like Telefonica Germany and the EU. And then there's now an argument about, do we actually want US companies involved, or should it be European providers? But that's more of a geopolitics thing. But I think there's got to be a kind of middle ground between... I don't actually limit this to the public cloud, by the way. I just think... this is a really sensible pushback, I think, to the argument that, we shouldn't use AWS because we're too reliant on a few tech providers. I think these oligopolies are there in a few industries to do with tech that people just don't really realize. Like broadband infrastructure is only really provided by Nokia at scale these days. If you take out the Chinese companies, and people don't really... If you say to somebody, I'm off to meet Nokia, like as I did to some friends recently, they were like, are they still in business? They're the guys who did those phones, aren't they, before Apple came out? It's like, all your network fiber infrastructure in the UK
Nokia.
pretty much comes from, because the only options otherwise are Adtran and Calix, and they have like 3% of the market.
Mm-hmm.
But the cloud ones just seems like a more worrying version of that, because so much data's going into it. So much of...
Yeah, and as we realised this Monday, so much relies on it.
So much relies on it in terms of, like, if people are talking about connectivity as well as just sort of information lakes and this sort of thing.
It's national security at some point.
And that, I guess that's why you get this conversation going on at the UK at the moment about the cloud services. Is it too dominated by Microsoft? And that's what's propelled these companies like Nscale into the sort of discussion. I don't know what you think about those guys, by the way.
Well, I mean, I guess it's your risk tolerance and whatnot, but they're really good at running infrastructure, right? And from a purely capitalist view of it, where would you rather spend your resources and time and money and people on your business when it's kind of a commodity thing to run servers and compute and get your chips? When you're trying to solve all these other problems, and sure, it's a concern, but at the same time, the alternative is to go do it all yourself, and now you're focusing on that, and you're, let's say
they're never going to be able to be as good. I get that completely, and have all those services that you get from Amazon.
And so it's a business decision at the board level of what's our special sauce? And I think the ship has sailed that special sauce is running servers. You're like, just let those guys do it.
In a way, it's analogous to the AI thing. It's like you're offloading as much as possible to focus on your special sauce or core competence or whatever we want to call it. And that will make sense. I mean, I suppose, I'm trying to think of it in our day job. I suppose if we could outsource research and just go, if you sat down, like Iain, as I'm sure you're aware, writes more in-depth stories than I do. If he sat down in the morning and going, right, this is my theme, this is where I'm going to go. I'm going to go and make a coffee. I'm going to send this prompt to the AI and go, just give me a fucking bunch of condensed research on this for me to cherry pick from. And then it's still Iain's stuff, but it's done a lot of the legwork of the research for you. I can see that. But then even then, that might feel like a slippery slope, isn't it?
I'm almost on the other slippery slope now, where I kind of feel like you're almost overly reliant on search engines for things, especially when Gemini throws up a...
Shoot, guys.
You know? Like you...
I
know, but I kind of worry about this in a big kind of...
to the library.
To the British Library. And go through
if
through
you
parchments.
are not intimate with the Dewey Decimal System, you are not a writer.
Yeah, he uses
that's a little bit extreme.
Those scanners with a lamp, you know.
Yeah.
The
microfilm. Yeah, there we go.
Microfilm.
Right, he's in there. There it is. It's the head count of China Mobile.
But you're right.
From yesterday's newspaper.
You're right. I mean, that's a great illustration. You know, all Ian's doing, and as I've been, is being honest about our sort of cognitive resistance to this stuff. But I still...
It's still you. I'm going to argue
what
it's
you're
still
really good
you.
At. No, and what you're really good at, and where we've pushed back on you in the past, but credit where it's due, what you're really good at is seeing what's coming. Mm-hmm. To, the old Gretzky thing, skating to where the puck's going to be.
The puck will be.
And fair play to you on that. And
that is my job, right? Making calls and...
Yeah.
I was going to ask, because I'll forget otherwise, but the BSS Magic thing, just quickly, that's hosted with AWS. You couldn't put that on premise and do it that way.
We could if the end result could be deployed wherever you want.
Yeah.
So, like what we did this week, we were just shipping to AWS because that's super easy to do. But if a telco's like, hey, ship to our production environment, it's on-prem, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So super. We're not forcing that on you.
To round off the public cloud thing, and if you've got any public cloud tangents you want to mention, then feel free. So, your point to your blog that you wrote that I can see because you printed it out. So I did.
I brought 3 copies.
All right. Cool. Yeah.
Everyone.
I'll grab one.
Yeah.
Or we can put one in the
middle.
middle.
I will link it in my next probably in the show notes.
Where you said public cloud outages are, quote, your problem, or you put asterisks. I don't know.
I'm emphasizing your problem.
I see,
you need
2022. Wow, that was
exactly. So there we are.
AI almost.
Well, and you'll notice from Iain Morris, the first thing, for example, after Google outage, telcos should think.
Oh yeah. And then I got the second one.
You got the second one.
Cool.
After Google outage, telcos should think twice about public cloud. That's from Iain. And then from Scott, the public cloud wilts.
Well, at least I'm consistent. I'm saying the same thing nowadays, aren't I?
God, my headline there seems more like an Iain Morris headline.
And I'm just like the minute that you guys were like, ooh, we're going to talk about the AWS outage. I'm like, pull up that blog from 2022.
So what I've taken from that is there are lots of tools within the public cloud to do with redundancy, because that's the biggest thing that occurs to me. Again, I'm inexpert. I'm not like you. I'm just a commentator.
Yeah.
But I understand the concept of redundancy, and I especially understand the concept of redundancy when my fucking website isn't up for half the day.
Yeah.
And it can be done, but as you say, it's a matter of resource.
I wasn't annoyed about that at all.
No, Iain was fuming.
Well, I mean,
it's a matter of resource, and you're saying the more...
and it's not that much more money to move it to Oregon or Ireland or whatever. It's not.
There aren't that many of the regions, are there? In the
US, there's only 4, but I think there's
a couple for
there's
only the government can
36 around
use.
the world.
There's some weird ones that only the government uses.
There's one in Frankfurt, isn't there?
Well, there's 6 in the United States,
there's only 1 in Germany.
2 are GovClouds.
Yeah,
and they're
GovClouds,
super expensive.
That's what
they're super expensive.
Yeah,
because they're like.
You can use GovCloud as a normal organisation.
If you want super US people only, and it's in a cage and all these rules, like it's security clearance, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You can totally use it. You're just going to spend more.
Yeah.
Right? Just do you need that?
The thing I was surprised by is that they don't have as many local zones as I thought they'd have. Mm-hmm. They don't have that many local zones, this is the problem I think with. Because this isn't a security or redundancy issue, this one, is when you're putting the network in the cloud, there are things you just need where you need it to be at the edge.
Yeah, and that's
unfortunately with AWS infrastructure, and this is why they've had this compromise where they've gone, well, we'll take our outpost servers and we'll put it in your infrastructure. But then obviously you lose a lot of the economies that you get of shared cloud infrastructure in a big kind of data center. So I believe it on the BSS OSS side from a service point of view, but on the kind of putting your RAM there, I mean that's just crazy. Like
so that's where I would tell you to spend time with Malik Rao and go see what he's doing with Telefonica Germany.
Okay.
Because he's working with Nokia, I think is actually how you say it.
We say Nokia in England.
Yeah. and
No, I know Malik.
AWS.
I speak to him at MWC usually.
Right.
Sometimes,
So talk to him about how AWS has worked to extend and improve local zones
Yep.
to meet him, because he is planning to deploy. He is deploying his core on the public cloud on AWS.
Yep.
He's starting with like 5 million subs, but I think his plan is to do them all. And he was on my podcast a couple months ago, talking about how AWS needed to understand telco requirements and kind of bend over to do it, and they modified it, and
Yep.
it's working.
Yeah.
So to your point, it will work, maybe not out of the box,
Yeah.
maybe not out of the box that was designed in 2015, but they're willing to do that, and they're doing that for Germany. So
saw you beavering away on Perplexity there on your iPad.
I love Perplexity. Why is
Yeah. Did you want, before I move it
I was
on,
going to pull up
there
how
something
many.
you were going to look at?
I was going to look up how many local zones there are,
Oh,
because I
okay.
don't have it off the top of my head.
But I get that's
two.
one thing I've taken. Yeah, fuck it, that'll do. One thing I've taken away is that redundancy thing is there. It's just a matter of resource, and I suppose to have a bit of a go at our own IT people. I don't take this personally, but one possible interpretation of the fact that our sites were down for so long on Monday was that we were under-resourced on redundancy. But again, I don't really know.
I
what I'm
can't
talking
imagine
about.
that would ever happen, Scott.
No.
just move to another region.
Yeah, just do that, all right?
Yeah.
Um,
It should be fairly easy.
cool.
But I think that's what happens. I think startups go in US East 1 because it's cheap. Then they start to scale. Then it's like, okay, now we need to move it, which is a project. It's not like just push it. I mean, it is a little bit of a push a button, but it depends on how you set it up. And
do you
it's
think
just,
at risk of not being able to move on, but you should
But
maybe
like,
think
for
about- do you
example-
think the public cloud people could make that a bit easier? I mean, it's in their interest.
it's all in your design.
Oh, okay, fine.
How you architect it. But like, for example, I remember Netflix used to go down, and now they don't. They're not on that list anymore. And it's just people
Yeah.
moving out of US East 1 to
Right.
build resiliency
Okay,
into
that's
their
really
services.
interesting. I didn't know that. So
I
it was
think
one
this
of
is the best
segments.
podcast ever right now. It's not just the beer talking.
No, it's great. I mean, this is stuff we're all interested in.
Yeah, it's super cool.
And you could sort of go on forever. I always like to think a pod should just be like if you stuck a microphone on the table in the pub
Yeah,
and you're just having a
that's
chat.
that's what it's like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe if you've got time after, we can put that to the test.
Okay, cool. Yeah, for sure.
So I was gonna ask you, and if we can keep this short, how bubbly do you think the AI thing? Not from the point of view of your day job. You've done a great job of advocating on behalf of AI in the telco context, but just more generally, these 100 billion here, 500 billion there sort of deals. How bubbly do you think the whole AI sector is right now?
I don't know. I mean, a little bubbly, right? I mean, especially that really great Bloomberg graphic. I don't know if you guys saw it, of like
Yep.
all the money
Circular.
that's very circular.
circular bit is
that feels a
fascinating.
little bit dicey, you know, at that level. Like certainly not my level. And it's not a nothing burger.
So-
It's a something burger, but
So-
maybe not as big as it is.
So it gets a little bit hype curvy,
Yeah.
and it'll level out.
We
It
just
will.
don't learn anything. We just want to keep doing it.
Because the incentives that are baked into bubbles and hype are, I always equate
Not
it.
if you're holding
I
the
always
bag.
equate it to musical chairs. People can this sounds a bit bubbly, but it keeps going up. So fuck it, I'm not gonna
Right.
bail out.
Yeah.
I mean, famously, someone like Warren Buffett bailed out of the dot-com bubble curve early.
And
But
missed out on-
but then the people who hung around, who timed it perfectly, which is obviously a big if.
Yeah. And it's
But
hard
the
to
people who
do,
timed
but-
it perfectly were laughing.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, all right. Look, we'll wrap it up there. We've got stuff to do. We'll see how. I saw you two exchanging glances as to whether you got time to join us for a beer.
Maybe
You'd
a
be
little bit.
you'd be very welcome. It's entirely up to you. I know.
Yeah.
When are you going back to the US?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, I came back from the Germany event to do this.
Right.
Spend the night, and then there's now
Cool.
2 nonstops to Austin on BA. So
Oh,
Yeah.
direct to Austin.
yeah,
God,
which is
that's
nice.
handy, isn't it?
I'll land
That's
at
good.
4.
Yeah.
Right. I can
Cool.
play some pickleball if I want to. Yeah,
Pickleball, yeah.
it's my new thing.
I
I'm
remember
going
you
to
talking
nationals.
about that before.
I won a tournament last week, and
Oh,
I'm
well
going,
done.
cool.
going to nationals in pickleball. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
great. Yeah.
Is that what
That's
you do
great.
post tennis?
Yeah. Well, I'm playing both, which is
Right.
causing a little bit of racket
Right.
confusion.
Yeah.
But,
Different techniques, I presume.
I found like the bounce on pickleball is really inconsistent.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different game, but I mean, if you're a decent tennis player, I mean, you can just clean up with pickleball. But then
Right.
at some level, you actually have to learn the game, and that's
Yeah.
I'm kind of
So
at that transition.
Is it
so.
better to come into pickleball from tennis or from squash?
Ooh,
Because it's got that squash.
maybe
no.
tennis.
It's got that squashy thing with the backboard and
that's-
stuff.
No, that's
Paddle.
paddle. You're
Oh,
thinking of that.
paddle. Sorry, I've
Yeah,
Paddle
paddle's
has
a
a
bit
wall.
more
Why
squash
do they have
like.
to have
When
such
it comes
similar
off the
fucking
back
names?
wall, it's
Pickleball
quite
is
hard.
a
Yeah.
large table tennis.
Right.
It's like ping pong and tennis.
I played a lot
activity.
of paddle in Slovakia.
Yeah,
you
my
see.
bad. I was confusing the two.
And
You need 4 people with paddle.
and
as
you
well,
only
about
score
pickleball.
when you're serving, which is
Yeah, it's like
confusing.
old
That's it.
volleyball.
That's
and you
it.
play with a wiffle ball. You play with a plastic ball with holes in it.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Which
if it lands
we-
on the hole, it doesn't bound the same as it.
I read
when it
a f-
lands between holes. Yeah, whatever.
I read a funny article about paddle. You say it's always doubles, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone
same
wrote.
with pickle.
Someone wrote. Someone wrote an article about paddle. That they said the reason it's so popular is because people play mixed doubles, and it's a great way of flirting with each other.
Oh yeah, totally.
So-
and the
Oh,
courts
you-
are like
you-
80,
it wasn't even
the
a surprise.
the
to him.
courts are like 80 quid in London as well to get a
Right.
paddle.
So it's become the
court
new
for like 1 hour.
Become the new place to pull.
Whereas
But when
you
you
get-
play
And you
with
have to
mixed,
Maybe I'll give it a go.
Yeah,
Only
well,
you
joking.
play with your mates who work for like some company that Danielle owns, and it's like they earn enough money to pay 20 quid each. But if you take your kids out,
it's
and
expensive.
you're like, it's
Cost
like 80 quid for 1 hour to take my 5-year-old to sort of teach
Well, I
him
don't-
paddle. It's like no
back
chance.
to your point on, it's a big place to flirt or whatever. When you play mixed doubles, the guys are playing big
Yeah,
across
yeah.
the middle. They're playing like 65% of the court and like confining the women to like, 20, 25.
not
And I'm
bad,
just
is
like,
it?
F you. I can play too.
There's a lot of that as well
Right.
But there's a
going
lot of, the
You
guys
got to-
cover.
You got to find ways of just tripping
They're
them up or something.
mansplaining on the.
Yeah,
Oh.
on. Yeah,
they're pickle splaining.
And then like I'm better than them and it's just so,
paddle splaining.
Paddle
it's so
I keep mixing them up.
annoying.
Okay, well,
Actually, I've never played
Anyways,
pickleball. I've only played paddle.
it's fun.
but-
on that note, given that I obviously can't distinguish between the two, we'll wrap
It's
it up
okay.
there.
It was
Danielle, it's a
fun.
pleasure
Yeah,
again.
super fun.
And keep in touch.
Yeah.
Next time you're in town, you've got an open invitation.
For sure.
Especially while you keep bringing us such
I
excellent.
know, it's like
we
good
should
gifts.
make sure. I don't know, Lindsay, if you got a shot of these with these branded things, but we'll do that. We'll do that when we finish.
Yeah.
But thanks a lot, and I think we've just got the one next week. Make sure you join us for that one.